I find a lot of poorly painted vintage furniture here in Wisconsin, mostly on Facebook Marketplace and in the local thrift stores. I found this old chest of drawers for $15 at a Goodwill a few miles from home. My name is Barry, and in this video I'll show you how you can restore old painted furniture like this to enjoy in your own home or to sell for a profit. This 5-drawer chest of drawers was manufactured by the Home Furniture Company in York, Pennsylvania, and was sold by the Kramer Furniture Company in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, about 150 miles north of Chicago, Illinois. Kramer's Furniture opened up in 1905 on Main Street in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. What I found to be interesting was that it was located just down the street from Sears Roebuck and Company, no doubt a fierce competitor in the furniture market at the time. I don't believe Sears manufactured any furniture of their own, but they did sell a lot of furniture from other manufacturers. Here's an example of a 1950s ad from the Sears catalog. As advertised, you could order everything in this room, including the 9x12 rug, from this catalog for approximately $270. A complete bedroom like this costs about $310, and everything in this bathroom around $241. Adjusted for inflation, those numbers today would be between $3,000 and $4,000. Although highly unlikely with most painted furniture these days, I'll still test the paint for lead using a test swab and vinegar. I'll also scrape back a small section of the paint, not only to determine the number of layers, but also to decide if it will be easier to scrape this piece or go right to using a chemical stripper. Most modern furniture paints are water-based and easier to remove with a chemical stripper, but an oil-based enamel will chip off in large sections with a carbide scraper. Here's an example how an enamel paint can easily be scraped off of furniture. There was no lead detected in this blue paint, and I found it difficult to scrape, so I'll move right to using a chemical stripper. Now that you've seen the unique design of this dresser, what are your thoughts? I posted a few photos on my community page a while back, and many of you seem to think this was manufactured sometime during the 1950s, and I tend to agree. The color of this piece under all the paint and the tapered drawer pulls and legs would indicate this is likely from the mid-century era. However, the question is, are there enough design features to properly consider this an American mid-century modern style? Many of you will be happy to know that there is no sponsor for today's video, but if you're looking for any of the tools or products used in this video, you can find most of them listed in my Amazon storefront link in the video description, as well as short tutorials for many of these products. I hope this helps narrow your search for the right tools for your own projects. Most paint removers are toxic chemicals, and I usually dispose of the waste in old paint cans. So yes, it's unfortunate to see chemicals like this end up in the landfill. However, I do still feel that it's a much bigger problem to be filling the landfills with old, discarded furniture. Whenever possible, it's best to scrape the paint off in the direction of the wood grain, either with a metal scraper or a plastic spatula. For the hard-to-reach areas on the drawer pulls, I'll use several different blades from this detailed scraper set to remove as much of the paint as possible. If you attempt to remove paint from old furniture like this, then you'll find that it's not necessary to completely remove all the paint with the stripper. You can come back and gently scrape some of the larger painted areas with a carbide scraper, and for the final step, use fine steel wool and some clean strip afterwash, not only to neutralize the paint stripper, but also to help remove more of the paint from the wood grain. This is certainly a strange looking style of dresser compared to most that I've worked on, and to be honest, when I saw it for the first time, I wondered who would have likely been the previous owner of this dresser, and this was my first thought. Although I've done the same steps on many different painted furniture pieces, I never really know if all the paint can actually be removed. I've certainly had my share of disappointments. All I can do is try and hope for the best. Here I'm using a nylon brush to avoid scraping the thin veneer. You could also try scrubbing in fine sawdust during this step to help soak up the paint remover and pull more paint from the wood fibers. I really wanted to avoid removing the legs on this dresser, but decided with their unique profiles, it might be easier for sanding and refinishing just to remove these. So I removed the screws, applied some heat with the heat gun, scored a line with the razor blade, then proceeded to beat these things with a rubber mallet. Once the legs were removed, I was pleased when I realized that any damage caused from this method could easily be repaired and concealed, so these were worth removing in my opinion. Maybe there's a better way, but I find it ironic that even with furniture, sometimes things need to be broken before they can ever be repaired. Other times, things are broken because we move too fast and we're just careless. Chances are, most people watching this video will never attempt a furniture restoration, and that's okay. My hope is that through this work, I'll still be able to share my own experiences that will in some way relate to your own paths in life. You know, as rewarding as it is to completely transform a challenging project like this, there are often so many difficult moments along the way, roadblocks that I don't even often discuss. Sometimes the limitations are physical, but most of the time, they are psychological roadblocks. There are certain skills that can only be developed during the toughest times, and I have no doubt the same applies when developing certain characteristics in life. It's easy to look at all this paint and damage and get overwhelmed, but I just need to start by fixing my first small mistake. I'm using a water-based hide glue with a syringe to secure the thin veneer where it has come loose, and replacing the veneer altogether in the places where it's missing. It's time-consuming, but not difficult. It's like tracing and cutting out the right pieces of a puzzle to make it complete once again. Will it be perfect? No, but I hope to make it a little better. As I continue to peel back the layers and begin to marry the old with the new, I'm left with scars that will now forever be a part of this piece and its story. I can try to conceal the scars, but they'll still always be there. I'll use various hand sanding blocks with sandpaper ranging from 120 grit to 220 grit for the areas where the large sheets of veneer meet the edge banding. Using power sanders for these areas will most certainly cause unnecessary, irreversible damage. This technique worked well for the edge banding on the front of this dresser, as seen. I found that in most areas where I replaced the veneer was slightly darker than the original. This is common and will likely be blended during the staining, but I'll still attempt to bleach the darker veneer with oxalic acid. Following this step, I'll wipe the veneer clean with a damp rag, then sand once again. Over the next few days, I'll continue to sand this dresser with various power sanders and hand sanding blocks, but no matter what I tried, I was still finding tiny spots of paint scattered all throughout every section of this dresser. This has happened before and is always so frustrating when working with thin veneer. You can't just continue sanding it out. You'll eventually burn through the veneer and cause bigger problems. My only solution was to apply more stain to this piece than I usually do. So towards the end of this video, you'll see me apply a stain that I thought would be a close match to the original color of the dresser. However, the final result was darker than I had hoped for. I decided to call it good and spray on several coats of satin lacquer. Final reveals have never been my strong point in my videos, so I'll show this dresser finished in my workshop as well as awkwardly staged against the wall in my living room. I'd much rather close out the last few minutes of this video with this thought. Several years ago, I left my career in healthcare to work on furniture full-time. For a long time, I wondered if I had made the right decision and if I was somehow letting people down. In the end, what I realized is that outside of certain social circles, most people don't care what you do or how many years you went to school or even if you went to school at all. Of course, there are some exceptions. What people truly care about and remember you for is how you treated them. Blue-collar jobs, white-collar jobs, it doesn't really matter. We're all here to serve one another and to help one another, and our skills are all unique. Someone once said that I just fix old furniture, and I haven't actually seen the real world. The truth is, I used to help people, and I spent years in healthcare in some of the worst places, seeing the real world. Believe me when I say, I don't seek recognition for that. Those years are behind me. Now I fix furniture, but I still wish to help people and to use this platform to reach thousands of people around the world with these stories so that we may all find common ground amongst each other and find ways to encourage one another. My name is Barry, and if you feel that I've earned your subscription to the channel, I hope you'll join me. Goodbye for now.